Have you ever judged someone based on what they wore? Or how they looked? What if that same person became the one deciding your future? This is a story about pride, humility, and second chances. It will make you laugh, cry, and think twice before you judge anyone by their circumstances. Because life has a funny way of turning tables when we least expect it. If you're ready for this emotional journey, please like this story, drop a comment below, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our inspiring tales. The morning sun blazed over Lagos as 15-year-old Grace adjusted her faded blue uniform. The hem had been let down twice, leaving visible lines across the fabric. Her shoes, though polished until they shone, had seen better days. The sole on her left foot was separating slightly, making a soft flapping sound with each step. She stood before the massive gates of Crestwood International Academy, her heart hammering against her ribs. "You can do this," she whispered, gripping her worn leather bag. Inside, the campus looked like something from a magazine. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Students walked past in crisp uniforms, their laughter echoing off pristine walls. Grace felt every eye on her as she entered the reception area. "Scholarship student," the receptionist asked without looking up. "Yes, Ma." "Grace Obi. Classroom 10B. Down the hall, second floor." Grace climbed the stairs, her flapping shoe announcing her arrival. When she pushed open the classroom door, conversation stopped mid-sentence. "Good morning," she said softly. A boy lounged in the back row, his expensive watch catching the light. Marcus Chan had everything: money, looks, popularity. His father owned half the commercial buildings in Victoria Island. His mother hosted charity galas that made newspaper headlines. "Everyone, look," Marcus announced, his voice dripping with mockery. "Our charity case has arrived." Laughter rippled through the room. Grace's cheeks burned, but she walked to an empty desk near the window. She could feel their stares on her patched bag, her too-short uniform, her broken shoe. "Tell me something," Marcus continued, leaning back in his chair. "Do they even have electricity where you come from? Or do you study by candlelight?" More laughter. "That's enough, Marcus," said a girl named Faith from the front row. But her voice was too quiet to make a difference. The teacher, Mrs. Adeyemi, swept into the room with a stack of textbooks. "Settle down, class. We have much to cover today." Grace opened her notebook, pages carefully removed from an old exercise book, the margins filled with tiny handwriting from previous use. She'd erased and rewritten on these pages so many times that the paper had grown thin. Throughout the lesson, Marcus made sure Grace knew she didn't belong. He'd cough loudly whenever she raised her hand. He'd whisper to his friends, and they'd all turn to stare at her. When the teacher called on her to answer a question about photosynthesis, Marcus muttered just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Bet she doesn't even know what a laboratory looks like." Grace answered perfectly, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. Mrs. Adeyemi smiled, but Marcus only rolled his eyes. At lunch, the cafeteria became Grace's battlefield. She sat alone, eating the simple meal she'd packed, rice and stew in a small container. Around her, students bought pizza, burgers, and smoothies from the food court. Marcus strutted over with his group, their trays loaded with food. "Eating peasant food, I see." He wrinkled his nose. "Doesn't it embarrass you? Coming here with your rags and your poverty." Grace looked up at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "My mother worked 3 jobs to help me get this opportunity. I'm not embarrassed. I'm grateful." "Grateful?" Marcus laughed. "You should be. Without rich people like my family paying full fees, scholarships wouldn't exist. You're here because of us. Remember that." He walked away, leaving Grace with her rice and her dignity. She blinked rapidly, refusing to let the tears fall. She wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Weeks turned into months. Grace arrived early every morning and left late every evening. While other students complained about homework, she devoured every assignment. While they scrolled through social media during breaks, she studied in the library. Marcus never stopped. His taunts became part of her daily routine. Still wearing those same shoes. What, your scholarship doesn't cover footwear? Did you work here? I can smell the poverty from across the room. Maybe if you tried harder, you could afford a decent bag. Grace learned to build walls around her heart. She focused on numbers and equations, on chemical formulas and historical dates. Books became her friends. Knowledge became her armor. One afternoon, results were posted for the midterm exams. Students crowded around the notice board. Grace had scored highest in every subject. Marcus stood frozen, staring at the list. His name sat firmly in the middle of the class. He'd never cared much about grades before, his future was secure regardless. But seeing Grace's name at the top, over and over, ignited something dark inside him. Must be nice, he said loudly, having nothing else to do but study. No friends, no life, just books. Maybe if you studied instead of bullying people, you'd do better, Faith said, her voice stronger this time. Marcus turned on her. Nobody asked you. But Faith held her ground. Grace earned those grades. You should respect that. Respect. Marcus laughed. Why should I respect someone who's only here because my father's donations keep this school running? Grace gathered her things and walked away. She'd learned that responding only gave him fuel. Silence was stronger. That evening, as she walked to the bus stop, rain began to pour. She had no umbrella. Her broken shoe filled with water immediately. She stood under a small shop awning, waiting for the rain to ease. A black SUV pulled up. The window rolled down. Marcus sat in the back seat, dry and comfortable. Need a ride? He smirked. Oh wait, you probably can't afford to get my seats wet. Wouldn't want your poverty to stain the leather. The driver looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Marcus laughed as the SUV drove away, splashing water onto Grace's already soaked uniform. She wiped the rain from her face, or maybe they were tears now, she couldn't tell anymore. But something hardened inside her that night. A resolve stronger than steel. One day, she whispered to the storm, one day, things will be different. 2 years passed. Grace graduated top of her class. While Marcus barely scraped through with his father's generous donations to the school, Grace received a full scholarship to study business administration at the University of Lagos. Marcus attended a private university in Ghana, funded entirely by his parents. He spent more time at parties than in lectures. His social media showed a life of designer clothes, expensive cars, trips to Dubai and London. Grace worked 2 part-time jobs while maintaining perfect grades. She tutored students in the evenings and worked weekends at a small accounting firm. She wore the same 3 outfits in rotation, carefully washed and pressed. She ate 1 proper meal a day and saved every penny. But she was learning. Not just from textbooks, but from life. She studied how businesses operated. She watched successful people, noting their habits and strategies. After university, Grace worked at a small tech startup. She arrived before everyone else and left after everyone had gone home. She took on projects others rejected. She learned coding, digital marketing, financial management. She absorbed everything like a sponge. Why do you work so hard? Her colleague, David, asked one evening. We all get the same salary. Grace looked up from her laptop. I'm not working for salary. I'm working for experience. Within 2 years, she'd helped the startup grow from 5 employees to 50. The CEO, Mr. Bebetunde, a kind man in his 60s, watched her with admiration. Grace, you remind me of myself when I was young, he said one afternoon. Hungry. Determined. Unstoppable. Thank you, sir. I'm retiring next year. Moving back to my hometown. I've been thinking about who should take over. He smiled. How would you feel about becoming CEO? Grace's hands trembled. Sir, I'm only 24. Age is just a number. Vision is what matters. And you have vision, my dear. She became the youngest CEO in the company's history. Under her leadership, the company tripled its revenue. She treated every employee with respect, remembered their birthdays, asked about their families. She never forgot what it felt like to be looked down upon. 3 years later, a bigger opportunity emerged. UCHE Industries, one of Nigeria's largest conglomerates, was struggling. Bad investments, poor management, and scandal had brought the empire to its knees. They were seeking a new CEO to turn things around. Grace applied. Her interview panel included the company's board of directors, serious men and women in expensive suits. They asked difficult questions. She answered each one with confidence backed by data, strategy, and vision. Ms. Obi, the board chairman said, "You're young. Why should we trust you with a company this size?" Grace leaned forward. "Because I understand struggle. I understand what it means to build something from nothing. Your company needs someone who won't give up when things get difficult. Someone who knows how to turn limitations into opportunities. That's me." 2 weeks later, they called her. She'd gotten the job. Grace's first day as CEO of UCHE Industries felt surreal. She walked through the marble lobby, her heels clicking on floors that once would have intimidated her. Now, she owned them. Her assistant, a cheerful woman named Blessing, showed her to the executive office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lagos. The desk was mahogany. Everything screamed power and success. "Your first meeting is in an hour," Blessing said. "Department heads will present their quarterly reports." "Thank you, Blessing. Can you send me the personnel files?" "All employees, every department." "That's over 300 people, more." Grace smiled. "I want to know everyone who works here." She spent the next hour reviewing files. And then she saw it. A familiar name that made her breath catch. Marcus Chan. Marketing Department. Performance reviews, average. Multiple warnings for unprofessional conduct. Her heart raced. All those years. All that pain. And now, he worked for her. The meeting room filled with department heads. Grace entered, her navy suit impeccable, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. She'd grown into her confidence, her presence commanding respect. And there, among the faces, sat Marcus. He was scrolling through his phone, barely paying attention. He looked older, softer around the edges. His expensive watch remained, but something about him seemed diminished. "Good morning, everyone," Grace said, her voice calm and professional. "I'm Grace Obi, your new CEO." Marcus's head snapped up. His phone clattered to the table. His face went through a series of emotions: confusion, recognition, disbelief, horror. "Grace." The word came out as a whisper. "Mr. Chan." She acknowledged him with a slight nod, then addressed the room. "I look forward to working with all of you. Excellence will be rewarded. Mediocrity will not be tolerated. Any questions?" Silence. "Good. Department presentations, please begin." Throughout the meeting, Marcus couldn't take his eyes off her. The poor girl in the broken shoes now sat at the head of the table, commanding the room with ease. The scholarship student he'd mocked now controlled his paycheck, his future, his career. When the meeting ended, everyone filed out except Marcus. He stood by his chair, frozen. Grace gathered her papers. "Was there something you needed, Mr. Chan?" "Grace, I didn't know." "Didn't know what?" She looked at him directly. "That the charity case could become your boss." His face reddened. "I was a kid. I was stupid. You were cruel. I'm sorry." The words stumbled out desperately. "I'm so sorry for everything. For every terrible thing I said. I was wrong. I was so wrong." Grace studied him for a long moment. All the hurt from those years rose up, threatening to overwhelm her. She could fire him right now. She had that power. She could make him feel every bit of humiliation he'd inflicted on her. But as she looked at him, this man childhood picked in secondary school, she felt something unexpected. Pity. Your performance reviews are concerning, she said quietly. Multiple warnings. Consistent underperformance. I can do better. I promise. Please, Grace. I need this job. My father's company collapsed. We lost everything. This is all I have. The irony wasn't lost on her. The wealthy boy who'd mocked poverty now begged to keep his job. I give you 60 days, Grace said. Prove yourself. Show me you can be more than your worst moments. Everyone deserves a chance to grow. Relief flooded his features. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Earn it. Over the following weeks, Grace transformed Churn Industries. She cut unnecessary expenses, invested in employee training, and built a culture of respect. She ate lunch in the cafeteria with junior staff. She learned names, asked questions, listened. Marcus worked harder than he ever had in his life. He stayed late, arrived early, and actually read the reports he was supposed to analyze. Grace watched from a distance, saying nothing. One afternoon, she saw him mentoring a young intern, a boy from a modest background who reminded her of her younger self. Listen, James, Marcus was saying, don't let anyone make you feel small because of where you come from. Your background doesn't define your future. Your work does. Grace felt something shift in her chest. 2 months later, she called Marcus to her office. He entered nervously, clutching a folder. I have my performance reports. I've exceeded every target you set. I know. I've been watching. She gestured to a chair. Sit. He did, hands clasped tightly in his lap. Tell me something, Marcus. What did you learn? He was quiet for a moment. I learned that I wasted years thinking I was better than everyone else because of my last name. I learned that success isn't about where you start, it's about how hard you're willing to work. I learned that the girl I thought was beneath me was actually miles ahead of me the whole time. Grace nodded slowly. You know what I learned? That hurt people hurt people. That cruelty often comes from insecurity. And that people can change if they want to. Am I fired? No. She slid a paper across the desk. You're promoted. Head of Regional Marketing. Double your current salary. Marcus stared at the paper, then at her, shocked. Why? After everything I did. Because you proved yourself. Because you're finally becoming the person you should have been all along. Because I believe in second chances. She leaned forward. But Marcus, if I ever hear of you treating anyone at all, with the disrespect you once showed me, you're done. Understood. Understood. Completely. His voice cracked. Grace, I don't deserve this. No one deserves kindness. That's what makes it kindness. She stood, extending her hand. Make me proud. He shook her hand, tears streaming down his face. I will. I promise. 6 months later, Grace stood before the students of Crestwood International Academy. She'd been invited to give a motivational talk. The auditorium was packed. She looked out at the sea of faces, some interested, some bored, some struggling with uniforms that didn't quite fit. Good afternoon, she began. My name is Grace Obi. 15 years ago, I sat where you're sitting now. I was a scholarship student. I wore shoes with broken soles. I carried a patch bag. And I was bullied every single day. She had their attention now. There was a boy who made it his mission to remind me that I was poor, that I didn't belong, that I was only there because of charity. Every day, he found new ways to humiliate me. And you know what? It hurt. It hurt so much that some nights I cried myself to sleep. She paused, letting the words sink in. But that pain taught me something. It taught me that my worth isn't determined by my circumstances. It taught me that cruelty says more about the person giving it than the person receiving it. It taught me that the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's success. Today, I'm the CEO of a billion-naira company. That boy. He works for me. And when I had the chance to fire him, to make him feel what he made me feel, I chose something different. I chose mercy. Because that's what strong people do. She smiled at the audience. So if you're sitting here today feeling less than others because of what you wear or where you live, hear me clearly, your current situation is temporary. Your determination is permanent. Work hard. Be kind. Stay humble. And never, ever let anyone make you feel small. And if you're the one doing the mocking, the bullying, the judging, stop. Because life has a way of teaching humility, and that lesson can be harsh. Choose kindness instead. Choose respect. Choose to lift people up instead of tearing them down. The applause was thunderous. After the talk, students lined up to meet her. Some shared their own struggles. Others asked for advice. Grace gave each person her full attention, just as she'd wished someone had done for her years ago. A small girl approached, her uniform clearly second-hand, her shoes worn but clean. Miss Grace, I'm on scholarship too. The other kids, they make fun of me. Grace knelt down to her level. What's your name? Blessing. Blessing, listen to me. Those kids who mock you, they are scared. Scared that you might work harder, dream bigger, and succeed beyond their wildest imagination. And you know what? You will. Because you already have something they don't, you have hunger. You have drive. You have a reason to prove yourself. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? Grace handed her a business card. This has my email. When you graduate, message me. I want to know how far you've flown. 5 years later, Grace sat in her office, now running her own consultancy firm. She'd left Churn Industries after successfully turning it around, ready for new challenges. Her assistant brought in the morning mail. Among the usual letters and invoices was a handwritten envelope. She opened it. Dear Grace, I'm writing this from my new office. After 5 years of working under your leadership, I learned more than I did in my entire life before. You taught me what real strength looks like. What integrity means. What success really is. I left Churn Industries 6 months ago, not because I had to, but because I was ready. I started my own consulting business, focusing on helping young entrepreneurs from underprivileged backgrounds. I'm trying to be the person you were for me, someone who believes in second chances and sees potential in people others overlook. I'll never forget what I did to you. I'll never stop being sorry. But I'll also never stop being grateful that you showed me a better way to be human. My daughter started school this year. When she came home crying because some kids mocked her lunchbox, I sat her down and told her about a girl named Grace who taught me the most important lesson of my life, that kindness is strength, forgiveness is power, and our circumstances don't define us, our choices do. Thank you for not giving me what I deserved. Thank you for giving me what I needed. Always grateful. Marcus. Grace folded the letter carefully, a smile playing on her lips. She thought about that scared 15-year-old girl with broken shoes and impossible dreams. She thought about the boy who'd made her cry but eventually learned to be better. Life really did come full circle. She opened her laptop and began typing an email to young Blessing, the scholarship girl from the assembly. It was time to check on her progress, time to offer mentorship, time to be someone's grace. Because that was the real lesson, wasn't it? Success wasn't about accumulating wealth or power. It was about using whatever you had to lift others higher. It was about turning your pain into someone else's breakthrough. It was about being the person you needed when you were struggling. Grace smiled as she typed, her fingers dancing across the keyboard, writing another chapter in a story. Thank you for watching this story. What lesson touched your heart the most? Have you ever judged someone too quickly, or been judged unfairly? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, please like, share with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more inspiring tales that prove kindness always wins. What would you have done if you were Grace? I'd love to hear your thoughts.